And welcome back to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast. My name is Jesse, and I'll be your host. So today I'm going to be going over what I watched in the month of March. So hopefully everyone's had as good of a month as you could this month. We're getting into the springtime, might be getting a little warmer depending where you're at. So, and this month I ended up watching kind of a mix of a bunch of different things. We also got for example, we got the Final Destination Bloodlines trailer came out, which will be fun. That's coming up in May, I think, so that'll be cute. And then also it's just gonna be interesting. So yeah, but with all that being said, let's move on to what I actually watched this month. So it's kind of all over the place. You'll see a theme of other movies I was watching near the end of the month, so we'll see about that. But to start off the month, though, I watched It Follows from 2014, because I did an episode on it earlier this month. Go check it out. I watched this on HBO Max. And so this is, if you don't know what it is, it's about this teenager played by Maika Monroe named Jay. She sleeps with this boyfriend of hers, this new boyfriend she has. And pretty much what happens is that this guy who has a fake name and everything he gives her, pretty much passes along a curse to her, where there's this invisible force that is just here to try to pretty much kill you. But yeah, this movie is fucking crazy. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. You can hear, I guess, what I think about it on the podcast I did about it. But I really do like this movie. It was celebrating kind of a 10-year anniversary in a way. So that's why I wanted to cover it. But yeah, it's kind of a very modern horror classic, similar to something like Hereditary, not in the same way, but definitely within modern horror. And I don't know, I just really liked this one. It was cool to see an early Maika Monroe. It's this and The Guest that are just really fantastic, and a really cool just distillation of what she can do as a person, or as an actress. Speaking of Maika Monroe, the next thing I watched was because it was on Hulu, and I decided to watch Longlegs from 2024, last year. And this is Osgood Perkins' not his most recent movie. That would be The Monkey, which I have not seen, but this is his other recent movie that came out last year. So for those who may not know, Longlegs is about Lee Harker, played by, again, Maika Monroe. She is a new recruit into, I guess, the FBI. I just said FBI agent. Of course she is. But they put her onto this case for this person called Longlegs, I guess. And the killer is then played by, the supposed killer is played by Nicolas Cage. That's who we're going after and whatever. And everything's not as it seems in this movie, in a way. And it gives that really weird Osgood Perkins movie type thing. If you've seen The Black Coat's Daughter or any of his previous films, Oz Perkins definitely has a particular way of how he likes to make his movies. And I did enjoy this. I gave it a 3.5 and a little heart. I did like just the cinematography of this movie and kind of some of the vibes of it. And I have to say I didn't dislike it necessarily. I know this was very kind of polarizing for different people, but ultimately I generally enjoyed my time on it. And yeah, and I haven't watched The Monkey or anything yet, but I mean, who knows? Maybe I will. But that's a Stephen King story. Technically, it's just that Oz brought it to life. But yeah, but this is on Hulu, and I decided to fucking watch it. And also, I mean, I'm not gonna say no to a Maika Monroe movie. I'm not going to say no to an Alicia Witt movie either. So I got to tell you that much. The next thing I watched was for an episode that I did earlier this month as well. I did Final Destination from 2000. This, of course, is about a plane crash that happens, and these people got off the plane right before it crashed, pretty much, and now death is coming to beat their ass. So I gave this a little 3-star little heart. This is definitely a nostalgia watch for me, because I definitely saw this when I was younger, and I have watched all of the other Final Destination movies, and I have fun with them generally. Are they the best movies? Not exactly, depending on where you're kind of at, but ultimately I do like this little series, and I will probably go and see that movie in theaters, to be honest. It's like that and Sinners I want to watch. I was just watching something today and I saw the trailer because they're of course putting the trailer out for Sinners, which is the new Ryan Coogler movie with Michael B. Jordan, and that one it just looks I don't know, I'm kind of into it. Like I want to maybe go see it. Who knows? We'll see. I work right near a movie theater, so why not? Maybe I could just go right after work or something, but or on a weekend or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, so I like Final Destination. I like the series generally. I like watching people die in weird creative ways. So, that's my story and I'm sticking to it. The next thing I watched is actually my first, I would guess I would say my first Coen Brothers movie. I know, isn't it crazy? I this is it's Joel Coen, but of course the Coen Brothers were a part of this. It's Fargo from 1996. I had never seen this before, and I had it on my list for like a bit. Like I was kind of like, okay, let me watch this. So I got on Hoopla and I decided to watch it, and this movie fucking rocked. I loved it. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. I really enjoyed myself. I just said Marge is on the case and I'm here for it. So for those who don't know what Fargo is, it then got turned into a TV show, by the way. It has 3 seasons, kind of a rotating story each season, with rotating cast. But pretty much it's about this guy Jerry, played by William H. Macy. He is a Minnesota little like car salesman. He's got a plan to kind of get some money to pay off some of his debts, right? And his plan, which involves like having these people kidnap his wife to then get a ransom from her father, all this crazy shit. Not everything goes as it should. And then that's when Police Chief Marge has to get on the case. This is Frances McDormand at her best, one of her best. She literally has 3 Oscars, which is crazy. And this was her first Oscar. So, and God, she's just like, she's pregnant throughout this whole thing. She is up in her little parka, and she is just with her little Minnesota accent, and I love every minute of it. She's on the case. Like, she literally is so great, and I love her. And this movie's fucking wild. I really liked it, and I may even own this, honestly. I probably would maybe like get it somewhere. I know I can find it somewhere. Like, I'm sure I can. But yeah, so that is what I ended up watching the next time. The next thing I watched was, because, listen, I went down a YouTube hole, okay? And I don't know why I did, but I did. I just do that sometimes. And one of the things that I came across was, it was because I was watching Coffee and Cults. All right, go check her YouTube channel out. It's great. But she talks about, like, all different sorts of shit. She talks about, like, that 70s show. She talks about, like, Buffy, and, like, it's a whole thing. But she was talking about Grey's Anatomy, bitch. Now, I never watched Grey's Anatomy, all right? And so I don't give a shit. But I watched this video of hers. It's very fascinating. Because my mom and my sister watched Grey's Anatomy. They were into it. And I wasn't. So, but anyway, so like, I saw this story about Elizabeth Pierce, okay? And it was covered on Coffee and Cults, and then that just kind of like led me down the rabbit hole of like other videos people have done about her. And then there was this Peacock series called Anatomy of Lies, which I watched, and this is about, okay, I'm going to give you the basic rundown. So not Elizabeth Pierce. Sorry, Elizabeth Finch. Okay. So this is about a woman by Elizabeth who is a lesbian. And she was a writer on Grey's Anatomy. She then turned into an executive producer on the show as well. And pretty much she conned a bunch of fucking people, bro. And she really, I mean, it's fucking insane the more you go into it. She literally said that she was like living with cancer. She had like a friend of hers particularly die in this like synagogue shooting in Philadelphia, and she had gone there to like clean her remains up or whatever. Like, it is some fucking weird shit. Okay. It's like, it is literally like a Grey's Anatomy episode. It is literally like a soap opera, and it's ridiculous and crazy. And I was kind of into it. It's just crazy that so many things like don't make sense in it, but like literally it just kept happening. It was so weird. But yes, you need to go if you want to watch some trash. It's not trash, but like, it is kind of trash, but like it's one of those like true crime things, obviously. And I'm not really all that interested in true crime like this. Thankfully, nobody in this situation like literally died by murder or anything. I will say, trigger warning, kind of, there is a mention of a suicide in this thing as well, in case you're kind of sensitive to that. It does play a part into the story, not with Elizabeth necessarily, but with somebody who, you know, Elizabeth was involved with. So if you're sensitive to, you know, talks of suicide or maybe even like domestic violence and stuff like that, you will want to just tread a little lightly on this, just because there is some of that talked about in here. So I just want to be aware of that in case you want that. But ultimately, I thought this was just a really interesting story. And the fact that they made a 4 fucking episode thing was just like, I spent a Sunday watching that, man. Listen, that's what I did. So anyway, the next thing I watched was actually another, it was it's an adaptation from a book. It's a Todd Field movie, and it was done by the same guy. The guy who wrote the book on this also wrote Election, which I have read and covered on the show. But I decided to watch Little Children from 2006. I watched this on Canopy. So again, using my library card. And this movie, we'll also talk about another reason I love Kate Winslet, but this is just another reason I can't not love her. Say what you will about like Titanic. I totally understand that movie is not for everybody, but god damn it, don't I love her. Like, I literally just, I love her. Anyway, but this is about suburbia, okay? And this is about two people, one played by Patrick Wilson, Insidious Daddy, and then the other played by Kate Winslet. They are both, these two, they are both in separate marriages. I'm trying to remember who Kate Winslet is married to. I don't remember. Some guy. And then some guy who also is like looking at porn at work or something. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? But then fucking Patrick Wilson's married to Jennifer Connelly. Anyway, so there's some, they end up having like some weird affair shit pretty much. And Jackie Earle Haley's in this. He plays a registered sex offender. We have another guy in here who's playing this like ex-police officer. And it's pretty much just mess going down in the suburbs, honestly. I liked it though. I gave it a 4 and a little heart. You will see Patrick Wilson's ass in this movie, and you will definitely see Kate Winslet and him having sex. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Sorry, spoilers. This whole thing is spoilers, so get over it. Sorry if you don't want to listen to it. Whatever, it's fine. It's just whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to understand that, like, yeah, obviously there's going to be some infidelity and, all that kind of stuff. I mean, like, the fucking poster is showing this and, like, whatever. Anyway, but I liked Little Children personally. This was enough of, like, I love a good messy soapy drama kind of thing, and that does sort of have that in here. And I'm fascinated. So, yeah. But that's what I ended up watching. The next thing I watched was for an episode I also did this last month. I did the movie Tank Girl from 1995 with Mark J. Parker. And I just said I liked this ridiculous movie. I also watched it on Hoopla. And this is about a girl named Rebecca, who is our titular tank girl. And, after a comet disrupts the cycle of rain on Earth, the planet becomes this desolate, barren desert. And, power and water are like kind of commodified and are, corporatized, if you will. Well, you have Tank Girl and Jet Girl, played by a young Naomi Watts, who they rise up and they are deciding to, try to overthrow the evil, Kesley, played by Malcolm McDowell. And it's just like a fucking weird movie, dude. This is from the same director who did Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. She comes from John Waters' land, so this movie's fucking odd. It's based off of an indie comic, but I personally kind of enjoyed this movie for kind of the weird camp fest that it is. And you can hear all about what me and Mark think about it. But yeah, I generally enjoyed it. For the most part, 3.5. Again, wasn't blown away by it, but I didn't completely hate my watch of it. I can also understand why people do not like this movie. However, I'm willing to, I'm fine with it. It's totally all right. And again, I like campy stuff, and as long as this camp feels rooted in something, I am more than okay with being able to let things slide, honestly. The next thing I watched was actually on Hoopla as well. I decided to cover April Fool's Day. No particular reason, there you go, wink, wink. But this is from 1986. This is a horror movie, in the vein of something like Friday the 13th, or kind of insert holiday horror here. Pretty much, this girl, Muffy St. John, played by the Valley Girl herself, Deborah Foreman. She gets her and a bunch of her college friends from Vassar, in this like secluded island of her parents. Like, they have this mansion on the island, and pretty much, people seem to be dying one by one, and then it culminates into what this would end up becoming. So yeah, this movie is a super fun one. I gave it a 3.5 and a little heart. It maybe is not the best horror film in the world, and you will hear all about that, I'm sure. But I also think like this is a movie that is kind of riding that wave of these different slasher movies that were coming out, and I think is a little bit more. It feels pretty grounded with some of these characters. I enjoy kind of seeing these like lovable assholes, you know what I mean? Kind of just to be together in a way. But I also just think this is a fun little movie, and this is like my third time watching it or something like that. But I am I tend to enjoy it. So there's that on that. And then the next thing I watched was I was gonna try and watch more of more of her her filmography, but I decided to watch a movie from Alice Mayo McKay, who is an Australian filmmaker, and she is a trans woman. And this movie that she made, which is So Vam, is her first feature venture. She was, I think, 17 or 16 when she directed this, which the fuck was I doing? I was like 17 or 16 or whatever the hell. Like, bitch, I was not doing this. So there's that. So this movie is about a young boy named Kurt, and he is kidnapped by a predatory old vampire. He becomes part of a gang of these rebellious vampires, one of whom is a trans woman. The other is like I think a trans man or like a non-binary man. I think it's a trans man, honestly, but we might be non-binary. I don't really know. Anyway, but Kurt, who's like this little Twinkie gay boy, he is learning about like empowerment and belonging, which he definitely did not have in his conservative ass little Australian town. But yeah, then you got some fucking vampire drama and some fucking vampire action, pretty much. And what I will say about this movie, so I ended up giving it a 2.5 personally. And the reason, so I 1 out of 5, that is not the rating. Again, 2.5 out of 5. So Alice has like 5 different movies that I think are on Shudder right now. So I will I wanted to watch more of those as the month went on, but I did not end up doing that. So I will probably try to come back to those, and I want to talk about them at some point. The acting in this one for me was a little bit crunchy from some of these people. I found that, I did enjoy I think I enjoyed like Grace Hyland, who plays April, who's like the trans girl vampire person. And I kind of liked, I guess her friend Harley, who's the other vampire guy. He was kind of fun. But overall, like the acting for this was not that interesting to me, really. It was kind of a vibe though, but like again, some of these people, again, it's their first movie really, so it is what it is. There's some fun lighting throughout this movie. I think, if anything, Alice has definitely a style to her films, because again, she is making them very low budget, so I'm not going to begrudge her for that or anything like that. There's some cool shots in it here and there. Again, some fun lighting throughout, but there isn't a ton in here that I was like bowled over by, or really, I don't know. Like, I don't know when I would ever watch SOVAM again personally. And we'll have to just see if there's been any progression and or anything of any sort of difference in any of her future movies as well. Again, I have 4 more to watch, but this is fun, and it's fine, perfectly fine. Again, I didn't dislike my watch of it. I wasn't like putting needles in my eyes or anything, but I can understand why somebody would not like this movie. But I think I think it's important to, when it comes to these sorts of films, when they're low budget as fuck, you do have to kind of, manage your expectations when it comes to these things. And to be honest, I am interested in at least just the fact of like a trans woman being able to make these like weird little horror films with people she knows, and trying to get like, these stories out there, because fuck it, that's how you do it, man. Like, that's awesome, so yeah. Anyway, that's enough about SOVAM. That's just what I thought about that. And then the next thing I watched was actually a mermaid film. A few days went by, but then I decided to watch this mermaid movie. It's called Blew My Mind. This is I think it's God, it's some sort of German. I think it's Swiss. But this is about a young lady named Mia, and she is a 15-year-old. She is going through a transformation where she literally turns into a mermaid. I'm going to tell you right now. And her body's changing. She's trying to pretty much fit in like any other teenage girl is. And, she finds out that she's literally turning into a fucking mermaid. So yeah, this was on Hoopla, I think it was. Or no, Canopy. It was on Canopy. And, and SOVAM was on Shudder, by the way. I think I said that already. April Fool's Day, I think, was on Hoopla as well. Anyway, but with all that. So, Blew my mind. This was very much like, I gave it a 3. I think this is a really interesting coming of age story. It's not particularly scary necessarily. It's more just like, yeah, it's a coming of age story. It really gave me more of like, sort of, this is not original to me, but like, this is very much gives me like 13 vibes, from 2003. This gives me, a little bit of like even, a tad bit of Euphoria, which I think this came out before Euphoria, but very much just like, just unflinching kind of like, scenes of this stuff. There's a very well-known group blowjob scene, I guess, that people know about. All right, just be aware of that near the end of the movie. And yeah, you see them dicks, honey. Listen. And oh no, man, this movie's fucking crazy, bro. But yeah, it's just an interesting coming of age story. And yeah, it gets into, it's funny. I was just saying something about Mermaid today. But it is interesting because there is partly like, a subgenre of these movies that kind of get put into the horror genre because it's creatures. Because technically a mermaid is a creature. It's like this Nanny, which is not a coming of age story, but it's very much like an outsider story because that has to do with somebody, you know, who came from another country and is now working for these rich white people. And she's coming from an African country, so that's a whole other story. But anyway, but yeah, it's just, this one just was I found it to be a very interesting coming of age thing, and it's fucking weird, bro. But you know, check it out if you want to. But yeah, I would kind of recommend it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. Then the next thing I watched was on the Criterion Channel, and it was under their J horror because I love a J horror film. This was Pulse from 2001. This is Kiyoshi Kurosawa, and this is about in Tokyo, the big city in Japan. There is, the internet is being used to kind of have some shit happen where people may or may not be taking their own lives. Again, use the internet. And this movie is super fascinating. I gave it a 3, and you know, I didn't think it was terrible. It maybe didn't work as much for me. But I think this definitely has something to say about just, you know, isolation in our world. And this is in 2001, so like even exacerbated more so now. But like, just looking at this has something to say about just like isolation in our world, and just how, you know, how we approach how we approach escaping sadness, isolation, all of these things. Our experience with computers, and you know, what kind of life do we have with those. And it was just really interesting, and I didn't dislike my watch of it. It just wasn't as interesting to me, perhaps. You know, but I do like a J horror film mostly, and so I was, you know, interested to pull up and watch this one for sure. And yeah, and I will always watch a J horror film. I have no problem with that. The next thing I watched was actually for an episode I just did last month, and that was Debs from 2004. And this is kind of a little guilty pleasure of mine. I gave this a 4 and a little heart. This may or may not be the best movie, okay? Like, this is not maybe the best movie out there. However, I do not care. I do kind of like this little queer gay movie. This is about Amy, played by Sarah Foster. She is a part of this elite group called Debs, who are pretty much being trained to be spies, and she falls in love with a villain named Lucy Diamond, played by Jordana Brewster, and pretty much hilarity ensues from there. And this movie was directed by Angela Robinson, who is a Black queer woman and has been a part of like being on the L Word, you know, helping to make that show happen, and you know, very much queer. And this movie, as a result, is very in that, but also like it's not the focal point of it, but it's just kind of in there. And I just really, I don't know, I like it. Like I said, it's a little guilty pleasure of mine. I just said it's the fucking green screen for me because, yeah, you could definitely tell that this movie had green screen in it, obviously, but it adds to a certain level of the charm on this. And I don't dislike my watch of this. Like, it's just, I let myself be, you know, taken over by this film, and I just want to see it. And it, in my opinion, at least, I find it to be a good little time, especially for the queer people who may have grown up with it or have not seen it, and maybe just, you know, you got to go into it knowing that it's a little bit over the top, a little bit campy, but you know, I'm not, that never hurt me, in my opinion. The next thing I watched was, because it had finally come to Peacock, so I was like, I definitely want to watch this. It is Wicked from 2024. So I did not watch this in the movie theater or anything like that. This is a John M. Chu movie, which I had actually watched In the Heights before when that came out I watched it on HBO. So I definitely wanted to watch this one. I don't have to go too much into it. It's about these two people, Elphaba and Glinda. They one is the Green Wicked Witch of the West. The other one is the good witch of the wherever the hell. And yeah, this is like their origin story pretty much. And it's starting with that. Of course, this is based off of the highly successful, Broadway show. It was based off of a book before that. So, and I have to say, I mean, like, this didn't win me over. Like, I gave it a 4.5 and a little heart. I know I'm so cliche, but I don't know. Like, this was just a fun time for me. And I think I'm very happy that it won Oscar for, the costumes. I thought the costumes were fantastic in this show, in this movie in particular. All I say in my little like review or whatever is I just say, God bless Himbo Jonathan Bailey, which I kind of knew that like with Fiyero, he's very much like he is this kind of like handsome dude in the story, right? But then also I just love that he's a himbo in this movie. He really is. And I'm sorry to say, but he is also very, very pansexual. In my opinion, in this story, I will be taking any questions at this time. Not just because Jonathan Bailey is a big old homosexual. I love that too. But this just solidifies to me that I'm like, oh, no. Like, Fiyero is canonically pansexual. He 100% has to be. And I'm more than okay with that. But yeah, so I will probably end up checking out, to be honest, I will probably check out Wicked for Good, even though I don't know how I feel about that title, but okay. I will end up checking that out probably, because why the hell not? I don't know, we'll see. Like, we'll have to see, because there's gonna be a lot of people at the fucking theater, and girl, I don't know about that, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyway, let's switch gears just a tad bit. So then I ended up watching some other films. One of the ones is a remake of a J horror film. I watched The Ring from 2002, whatever. This is about it's about Rachel, played by Naomi Watts. We talked about her in Tank Girl, but we talk about her here. She's a journalist who is investigating this videotape that may have killed these 4 teenagers. There's this urban legend about this tape. If you view the tape, you only have then 7 days to live after watching it. And, scariness ensues from there, bro. And I will say, I mean, I ended up watching this, I think, on Hoopla, and I definitely enjoyed my time watching it. Like, I gave this a 4 and a little heart. I had seen this when I was like a kid, I think, and I can't remember if I don't think I was scared by it necessarily, but just in this situation, having watched the J horror original and then watching this one as well, I just really enjoyed my rewatch of this. I just think it is like, I like a blue filter, not gonna lie. And this movie is just very unsettling, very weird. And the fact that it could do a lot in this sort of constraint of being a PG-13 movie, I thought was really, really admirable. And yeah, I like that. So that is what I thought about that personally. But yes, I liked The Ring. And then all these other movies that I watched were because I decided to go on a little bit of a classic movie jaunt, perhaps. I did watch Mildred Pierce, the 45 movie, last month, I think it was. And I also ordered it and I bought it on Criterion. That and To Die For, loved those. But I ended up watching, speaking of Joan Crawford, I watched Whatever Happened to Baby Jane from 1962. This is about a former child star, Baby Jane Hudson, that's what her name is. She played by Betty Davis, and she is tormenting her paraplegic sister, who's Blanche Hudson, played by Joan Crawford. And they live in this decaying ass like Hollywood mansion, and it just gets really fucking weird from here, man. It feels sad. That like Jane Hudson, Baby Jane, she is continually losing her mind, and Blanche can't do much about that, even though she's trying to. And there's just a lot of shit going on with this, but I kind of enjoyed my watch of it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 and a little heart. I thought this movie was just like, it just feels like a little unsettling with some of the stuff that is happening. It's not, I don't know how disturbing I would say it is, but I just think like this is definitely something where there is something to be said for, just the weird shit that goes on in this movie and what it's saying about just like how people handle the success that they can get at an early age and how it can really kind of fuck around with your psyche in a way. And I don't know, it was just really interesting. But yeah. And the next thing I watched is the de facto sequel to this, which is done by the same guy, Robert Aldrich, and it is Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. This is about an aging, reclusive Southern belle who's also played by Bette Davis. She is played by this horrifying family secret because it's to be assumed that she killed her somebody killed her. I guess people think that she killed like her soon to be like husband because they were running off together. Like he was married and whatever, some bullshit goes down. And then a relative of hers comes into her life, played by Olivia de Havilland, and craziness ensues from there. You also have Agnes Moorehead in this movie and Dora from Bewitched, the mother or like somebody to Samantha, which is just crazy because they was also around this time as well. Like it was literally the same year almost. So it's crazy to kind of look at it. But anyway, I ended up really liking Hush, Hush, Sweet Charlotte. It definitely has, some weird shit going on. I just say good for her. Okay. And you'll know why when you watch the movie. Okay. It is like 2 hours. I will give you that. It's quite a bit, but I do enjoy this. And I like some of the horror imagery in this movie. I think this one is a little bit more squarely horror in a way, which I thought was just really fascinating. And yeah, I was getting on my Psycho Biddy, vibe, if you will, for sure. The next thing I watched was actually from 1939, so I went back a little ways, and I ended up watching a George Cukor film called The Women. And this woman, this woman here, this is about a happily married woman played by Norma Shearer. She lets her catty friends take her into divorce when her husband strays. Again, Joan Crawford movie. And this movie is kind of a fun one because it has the distinct honor, I feel like, to be one of the films where literally there are no men on screen in this movie. It is all filled with women. This is like, it's really fun. There's a certain level of camp to it. There's a certain level of just like over the topness to it. The outfits are really fun. Like I really enjoyed myself with it. I ended up giving it a 3.5 and a little heart. I wasn't like super blown away by it necessarily, and it is quite long. I will say that much, but I will also just say like, I found it to be fairly fascinating. There is some, again, moments of camp. There's these moments of kind of grandiose sort of shit going on, but overall, like I did generally enjoy myself with it. I just wished it was a little itty bit shorter, but it is what it is. And that was something that, long movies did, is that they just, or old movies did, is that they were just long for kind of no reason, but it is what it is. And George Cukor was a gay man and, did women's pictures, if you will, very much like this one. So, yeah, I gotta support him when I can, of course. And then the last thing I watched, speaking of Mildred Pierce, like I did earlier, I decided to watch the miniseries of Mildred Pierce from 2011 on HBO with my girl, Kate Winslet. This is a Todd Haynes directed thing, so it's a miniseries of pretty much the story of Mildred Pierce. This is very much more the book of Mildred Pierce, which I have not read. I've only watched the 45 movie and now I've watched this. So now I feel like at least I've seen the adaptations of moving pictures at least. But yes, I would definitely recommend this one personally though. If you have watched Mildred Pierce as the movie with Joan Crawford, which again, fantastic. But if you have maybe not read the book, I would definitely recommend watching this because it really goes into, you know, what they go into in the book. Because spoiler alert, there is no murder. There's nothing about that in the book actually. And this shows that it doesn't have that in it either. But Kate Winslet was fantastic as Mildred. Evan Rachel Wood is fantastic as Vita. Just everybody firing on all cylinders in this movie. Like, honestly, it is like a 5-hour fucking movie, kind of, really. It's 5 episodes broken into like an hour and some change. But overall, like, it is like a kind of a movie, if you will. It has no reason to be this fucking long, honestly, like, truly. However, I do kind of like the miniseries structure. You are able to go into a little bit more depth with some certain things, and I definitely I did not dislike my watch of this at all. And I just thought it was very good. And so I would recommend, if you have not already seen this, or if you have watched Mildred Pierce and you were just like, well, that was interesting, what else is there to watch? Go pull up on HBO and go watch this one. Because again, it's a good time. And that is what I watched for the month of March. Alrighty. So yeah, you will be getting more episodes from me, of course. I have, I've got some stuff, coming on the pipeline. I don't know if you'll get it by the time you're hearing this, but I will be releasing what I will be doing for the month this month. So you'll see that on the Instagram, of course. And yeah. But with all of that being said, I hope you all have enjoyed I hope you guys enjoyed March, and I hope that we have, a good April as best we can. Again, we're getting into springtime. So we may have some rainstorms here and there, but we're slowly but surely getting into the summer months. And we're hanging on, man. We're doing what we can. So, we'll see what else I watch this month. We'll see what I watch in April. I continually have watch lists that I want to watch, so I will be going through those, and at the end of the month I will be telling you about those. But with all that being said, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to the Cult Cinema Circle podcast, and I will catch you next month. Take care. Bye.